When we are talking about realism, we are talking about using the realism rules. So the drawing slow, the details, a drawing from an object in front of you or from life. If not life, then a photo. Looking at your object more in your paper. There's even a little bit of that contour line to slow yourself down. That helps a lot. And then the don't erase. Now, there will be a point where you're like, it's fine to erase, and maybe you're at it already. But if you find yourself erasing more than you're drawing, you need to slow down because that's usually the problem that's happening. Um, details. Details are not always flattering. All right. Uh, whether you have freckles, whether you have acne, whether you have scars, those are part of the details that make you you at that moment or this moment, whatever it should be. And you need to draw those things. I spent 6 months a couple of years ago drawing people with freckles because I'm like, this is a challenge. I've never done it. After that, I moved on to dreadlocks because dreadlocks ain't easy to draw either. Uh, but I mean, you always want to challenge yourself and you always want to show all the details you can for a couple of reasons. Number one, the darkness of that freckle in comparison to this freckle is going to be lighter. So once I do this one, I know this one I have to use less pressure. I know this one's bigger than this one. So what you're doing as you're making these marks, whether they're freckles, whether they're lines, whether they're shaded areas, you're judging it against the thing next to it. Should it be darker? Should it be a different angle? You're really going into this where you are focusing on an incredibly small area and then focusing on the larger area. So you're kind of back and forth. And that's going to help you get your details. That's going to help you eventually get your shadows. That's what's going to help it look real. All right. Now, there's a huge difference between these two, how they look. The form is not bad in this one. We can see that we have an edge all the way around. This guy took his up another level and made this really look like it's inset, like it's casted metal. He also added more specific shadows. So when he saw this part, he didn't just see it as one gray, he saw it as several grays. When he looked at the movable edge of that wrench, he saw this fade curving up because it's shiny. And he saw this line go here, stop, and pick up again. While you may think that makes it look imperfect because your brain's telling you it goes all the way, trust your eyes. This is one of the few times people will tell you don't trust what you're thinking. No other class you're going to hear that. Trust your eyes. Your eyes will not lie to you when it comes to realism. Your brain will. It'll try to tell you that, well, this goes all the way, so that line should go all the way. It depends. It might be shining back at you, it might be a highlight. So trust your eyes. What we're trying to get you to do is break out of the symbol system. The one on the left really doesn't look that different from the half of one I put in my example of my favorite thing back when we did our favorite things. So what you're attempting to do with this is you're trying to look at the object for what it really looks like instead of what your brain knows. Like we all know that that's a pumpkin. There's no doubt about it. But do we know if he actually looked at a pumpkin? Because chances are he would have had to have that pumpkin straight at his eye level, not to see the upper edge of it. Because generally we're looking down on things when we're drawing them on our table. So I don't think he really saw it that way. I would first start with the lines and take each line as its own thing. And then once you get that line done, judge it against the next line, the angles. And then just keep going. When you get to a point where you feel okay with the lines, that you feel like you've gone as far, or you're bored, because that's the other thing. If you start losing interest, switch to shading, because sometimes that's the little break you need to get back into doing the lines. And then just keep darkening it up, adding more and more shadows until you get something that looks like that. All right, adding shadows can be kind of tricky. Sometimes it's about pressure. Sometimes it's about blending, preferably not with your finger, but some sort of blending implement, whether it's paper towel or a Q-tip. Sometimes it's about using lines. That's hatching. We'll get into that a little deeper later. And sometimes it's combining all those things. All right, so here's the difference between shading and no shading. The boots on the left are actually drawn pretty well. We get a sense of form. We get a sense that they're 3D. We see that they put the details. They made the shoelaces thick. I don't know why this one, it should be the same shoelace. It should have a thickness to it. It doesn't, though. But we see they curved with the boots, even so slightly. We see the back heel. What this is missing is shadow. So even if it looks like you're smudging it up and making the boot dirty, your brain will accept it as a shadow. So don't freak out as you're shading. Just go with it. And you can see the difference. I mean, okay, she may have put some stitches in the leather too. There might be a few more details on this one, like the folds. All right, this last one. I'm not that good yet. If you are, cool. We're gonna send a bunch of your work to Upstate 8, and you can win yourself all kinds of prizes. Um, this is obviously somebody who focuses on drawing every single day, every minute of every day. Very, very good. The amazing thing about this is still pencil. It's not some sort of magical tool. It's still a pencil. He might have different types of pencils. He may have some F's and some B's. Um, he obviously doesn't drag across this paper, which is one of my bad habits. But you know what? This may or may not be your goal. You might get to a point where you're like, I like my style. I like how I draw things. And you know what? So will other people. It's all a matter of taste. So don't think you have to be some sort of super, super realist like we see here. But know that if you want to be, that option's out there. It takes a lot longer and it looks cool. But there does get to a point where I'm thinking if it looks like a photograph, why don't I take a photograph? It should look like a drawing. That's me. All right, I'm going to stop that share. I'm going to tell you guys to go get your objects, and I will go meet you on the screen over here. So we're going to spend basically the whole time today working on an object. I started a food dog with my last class. I'll probably start them over again because I went big. But start at the top of your paper, grab your pencil, just slowly work your way down the object. Where you need to apply shadows, you can apply shadows. You know what? Maybe I'll finish his head, then I'll start over. right, we still got a few more minutes. I don't know how long it takes you guys to clean up, spray down the tables, or do whatever you're supposed to do in that classroom. But if you are done for the day, put your date next to the drawing. So what is it? The 5th. So 3/5/2021. Sign it. Pull out your phone or take your Chromebook, take a picture of it, email it to me, or put it in your portfolio. If you've already done your portfolio, let me know it's going in your portfolio. Because I don't really spend Friday night looking through people's portfolios. That would be creepy. So just like, email me and say, hey, check my portfolio. I put today's assignment. We're going to do one more on Monday. So you guys are going to be at home. So look around for something at home that you want to draw, something that will maintain your interest. Come Tuesday, not Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to start on portraits. So if there's somebody that you want to draw or draw several times over, because I'm going to show you guys tricks on how to do draw faces, look up a picture of them. All right, not a cartoon of them. We're going to try to draw real people. Although I did have a girl argue with me one year that SpongeBob was a real person to her. Yeah, it didn't go well. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Clean up your room, take your pictures, email it to me if you don't have a portfolio here. I'll put my email in the bottom again.